This is the OTB Television Network, a service of Capital District Off-Track Betting.
Up to the top of the stretch. Bayern turning for home in front. Toast of New York on the outside. California Chrome is third. Shared Belief laboring back there in fifth. 1 furlong to run. Bayern, Toast of New York. California Chrome on the outside. The three of them come to the wire. Bayern, Toast of New York. California Chrome. Here's the finish. Bayern holds on.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Down the Stretch. I'm Mark Casano. On this morning's show, we will look back at Breeders' Cup Saturday with an emphasis on the controversial classic, and we will welcome in the human star from Breeders' Cup 31, Mr. Chad Brown. So all of that and much, much more if you stay with us for this, our November 8th edition of the program, which is being sponsored by Bloodlines Racing. Racing quality horses like Full Sisters, invading humor and distorted beauty, and for information on how you can get involved with their half-sister, visit them on the web at bloodlinesracing.com. Good morning once again, a busy show in front of us. Looking back at Breeders' Cup Saturday and welcoming in Mr. Chad Brown, but before we get to the Breeders' Cup action, just a few quick notes here, beginning with Princess of Sylmar, who was owned by Schenectady native Ed Stanko. She was sold last week at Fasig Tipped in November for $3.1 million. Japanese interests purchased her, and veteran jockey Mike Luzzy was seriously injured in a paddock accident last Sunday at Aqueduct. Luzzy suffered a broken leg and fractured his pelvis in 5 places when a filly he was on flipped and landed on him. We wish him all the best and a speedy recovery. And finally, jockey Alan Garcia, whose career appeared to be blossoming a few years ago, has decided to move his tack and his family to Saudi Arabia. According to Blood Horse, Garcia won more than 1,400 races, including 88 graded stakes here in America. All right, we begin the Saturday Breeders' Cup action with the juvenile fillies, a field of 12, the 3-1 favorite, number 2, Angela Renee. For the call of the Breeders' Cup juvenile fillies, here's Trevor Denman.
All set for the juvenile fillies. And away they go to a good beginning. Feathered is ridden along from the inside gate, sprints up to the lead. Take Charge Brandy. By the Moon's going to be caught wide but shows speed. Henny the Love Penny tucking in right behind that quick pace up front. Top Dessel has the red cap towards the outside. Then it's Christina's Journey, now racing 3 off the lead and going up to be a 5th position. In behind that is Angela Renee, has the gold colours, gives them 5 length start. On the far side we have Wonder Gal starting to make some headway in the blue cap. They then being followed by Majestic Presence in the pink colours. Inside of that comes Conquest Eclipse. Conquest Eclipse gives them 8 length start. Then Danette, and Puka is last early. Puka is 11 off the lead. They head to the half-mile pole, and it's Take Charge Brandy, and setting the pace, leads it a length and a half. By the Moon on the far side, Henny the Love Penny between horses, and Feathered is a close-up 4th at the rail. In behind those comes Wonder Gal. On the inside, Christina's Journey now being ridden along. She's got 5 to make up. Danette is coming into contention down at the rail. On the far side, we have Top Dessel, and the red cap still got 8 to make up. Behind that comes Conquest Eclipse, and Puka is still last. Coming to the top of the lane now, and it is Take Charge Brandy. Take Charge Charge Brandy now going clear as they turn for home. Leads it by 3 lengths. Take Charge Brandy. Feathered is coming after them. Danette is running a huge one along the inside. Wonder Gal is in with a shot too. Homeward bound now. Take Charge Brandy holding on gamely to this lead. Danette trying to sneak through at the rail. Feathered on the outside. A late run now from Top Decimal, but it's going to be Take Charge Brandy. Take Charge Brandy in a stunner.
Take Charge Brandy got Saturday off to a what in the world just happened start as she led them gate to wire by a half length to upset the juvenile fillies at $125 for Wayne Lucas and Victor Espinosa. 5th, and 8th against weaker regional competition in her last 3 starts. Take Charge Brandy looked like a completely different filly on Saturday as she repelled pressure and instead of surrendering badly as she did in her last 3 races, won by a pretty handy half length. Top Decile, who had broken her maiden in her debut 2 back at Saratoga, rallied for 2nd, while Frizette runners Wonder Gal and Feathered finished 3rd and 4th. Frizette winner by the Moon, who was wide from a tough post, was 8th, while the favorite Angela Renee finished a very poor 10th. So, we have a $125 winner to start Breeders' Cup Saturday, Wayne Lucas's 20th victory in the Breeders' Cup. Up next, the filly and mare Turf. The Turf labeled good. First race of the afternoon where the Americans faced a European invasion. Defending champion Dank, number 3, was the 2-to-1 favorite. Now, it's not a major surprise that Dank was favored, but coming off an injury-induced 4.5-month layoff, I was a little surprised she was that short. The second and third choices both came from Chad Brown, with contrasting running styles. Stephanie's Kitten, number 10, was 4.5-to-1, while number 4, Day at the Spa, was 5-to-1. For the call of the filly and mare Turf, here's Larry Colmus.
Be ready for a start of the filly and mare Turf. They're all in line. They're off in the Breeders' Cup filly and mare Turf, and Day at the Spa broke very well, and she goes straight out to take the lead. Miranda to the outside is up there too, and Secret Gesture is close to the pace as they cross over the main track and enter the stretch for the first time. And then toward the inside is Just the Judge running in 4th position, settling in behind the leaders, and Dank is right behind her in 5th. Then Rusty Slipper to the outside. Faisolana is down at the rail. Stephanie's Kitten is racing 6 lengths off the lead early, clear of Irish Mission. Then we come back to Amalia to his second last, and Abaco is the trailer. 23 and 4/5 seconds was the opening quarter mile, and now Day at the Spa will take them into the clubhouse turn in front. And the lead is just a half a length over Parenta, who's second to the outside. And now, Just the Judge has come through inside of Secret Gesture. These two are together, 3rd and 4th. Dank, well held by Ryan Moore, is 5th as they enter the backstretch. They went a half mile in 48 and 1/5 seconds. So it's not a demanding pace at all for Day at the Spa. She's had things her own way so far, and she's the leader by a half length. Miranda's second by 2. And then it's Secret Gesture, followed by Just the Judge. Dank is outside of horses. She's got 4.5 lengths to make up. Then Stephanie's Kitten, Faisolana, Rusty Slipper in behind them. Then to the outside comes Irish Mission. And at the back are Emoliant and Abaco. 3/4 of a mile in 1:13 flat. Day at the Spa and Javier Castellano have led every inch so far, and the lead is a neck. Miranda has been second throughout, and now she's edging up alongside of Day at the Spa. Outside of them comes Secret Gesture in 3rd. Dank is now swung to the outside for a clear run in 4th. They're into the stretch. Day at the Spa continues to lead. Miranda has run a big one. To the outside comes Secret Gesture. Dank and Stephanie's Kitten are closing in, but Day at the Spa takes catching here. Day at the Spa's got it. Day at the Spa all the way in the filly and mare Turf.
Day at the Spa, racing for the first time in an 18-race career beyond a mile and an eighth, relaxes beautifully on the lead and handily captures the filly and mare Turf by a length and a quarter over stablemate Stephanie's Kitten, who ran very well against the pace scenario. Just the Judge, coming back in just 13 days off a win in Canada, was 3rd, while defending champ Dank finished a non-threatening 4th. In the finest form of her career, Day at the Spa became the first New York bred to win a legitimate Breeders' Cup race. I personally don't count the marathon. Great piece of training by Chad Brown, and Javier Castellano got her to relax perfectly. Now, she had relaxed very nicely in her last 9 furlong race, but that came way back in October of 2012. The final half mile of 47 flat gave the closers very little chance, but despite the pace, Stephanie's kitten ran quite well to finish second with a wide trip. Chad Brown 1-2, his second victory at the 31st Breeders' Cup. Day at the Spa, the winner on Monday, was sold at Fasig-Tipton November for $2.1 million. Up next, the filly and mare sprint. And we had co-favorites at 3-1. Number 7, Judy the Beauty, and number 3, Stone-tastic. The latter who figured to set the pace, but she was a bit of a surprise to me that she was that low. In the 10 filly field, half the field was between 3-1 and 5-1, completely wide open. For the call of the filly and mare sprint, here's Larry Colmus.
Ready for a start here. The last couple of horses going into the starting gate were ready to go. They're all in line. They're off in the Breeders' Cup filly and mare sprint. Stone-tastic had a good start from the inside, and Southern Honey is fast out of the gate too, and she's going to be second early from that far outside post. Lee Cord is away running in third, and then it's Thank You Mary Lou, Judy the Beauty to the outside. Sweet Reason has the rail. She's 4 lengths off the lead. Artemis Acroterra is alongside of her, and then Little Alexis Living the Life, and the trailer is Better Lucky. 22-2 the opening quarter mile for Stone-tastic and Paco Lopez. No surprises here. They're out there in front by a length. Southern Honey is close though, and Lee Cord and Gary Boulanger are third on the outside, and now the 3 of them are across the track as they move into the far turn. Judy the Beauty is fourth. Thank You Mary Lou starting to drop back in fifth. A rail run for Sweet Reason. She's got 4 lengths to make up, and the others have work to do. Stone-tastic has run a 44 and 4.5 mile, and Paco Lopez throws down the gauntlet at the top of the stretch. Stone-tastic off the turn in front. Judy the Beauty is closing on the outside, and in the center of the track, Better Lucky is coming too. Judy the Beauty has taken the lead. Better Lucky on the far outside is charging after her. Here's Better Lucky. Judy the Beauty. Judy the Beauty holds on.
Judy the Beauty, second in this race last year behind champion Groupie Doll, parlayed a very good outside trip into a head victory over late-running Better Lucky, with Thank You Mary Lou, the longest shot on the board at 39-1, finishing third. Judy the Beauty, freshened since August 17th, was in the clear and out of trouble under Mike Smith and had enough to hold safe 23-1 shot Better Lucky, whose first preference was actually the Breeders' Cup Mile. Co-favorite Stone-tastic was fourth. Lee Count, who had endured travel problems getting out to Santa Anita, was fifth, while the New York-based duo of Artemis Agriterra and Sweet Reason, both very nice 3-year-olds, finished 7th and 8th respectively. Wesley Ward trains the winner, who will stay in training in 2015. And how about the Breeders' Cup that Wesley Ward had? 2 wins, 3 seconds, and a third. Absolutely outstanding. Finally, in this segment, the turf sprint. And I mentioned on last week's show all 4 runnings of the turf sprint at Santa Anita. Well, all of the winners had had experience and success going down the hill at 6.5 furlongs. The 3.5-1 favorite was number 14, No Name Never, from Red Hot Wesley Ward, but a colt who had never raced over the unique downhill turf course. For the call of the turf sprint, here's Larry Colmus.
They're all in line. We're ready to go in the turf sprint. They're off in the Breeders' Cup turf sprint. And it was a good start for Renee's Got Zip. She came out fast on the inside, and so did No Nay Never. And Something Extra's away running in third. Ageless is fourth on the far outside. Then comes Tight End Touchdown, followed between horses by Marchman, as now they begin that right-hand turn, and Renee's Got Zip is the leader. No Nay Never is second, just to the outside of Something Extra. Then Tight End Touchdown, followed by Marchman. Ageless is next by another 2. And then comes Silencio to the inside as they continue their way on that turn, and they come downhill here at Santa Anita with Renee's Got Zip still the leader. Something Extra now 2 lengths behind, running in second. No Nay Never is third. 3 lengths farther back to Marchman in fourth. Tight End Touchdown is fifth to the inside. Then comes Ageless, and right behind them is Sweet Swap. But it's Renee's Got Zip who crosses over the main track in front and turns for home with the lead. No Nay Never is second to the outside. Tight End Touchdown is coming up the rail. Something Extra. Ageless is there on the far outside. Casper Netcher, and then comes Sweet Swap. It's No Nay Never. Here's Ageless on the outside at a huge price. Toward the inside, Tight End Touchdown. Sweet Swap is there too. And on the far outside, Bobby's Kitten with a flying finish.
Bobby's Kitten, who throughout his career has had to overcome being anxious or rank early on, comes from absolutely last with a dramatic late run to nail favorite No Nay Never by a half length to capture the turf sprint and give Chad Brown his third Cup win. Undrafted, the uncoupled stablemate of the favorite was third, while long shot Ageless finished fourth, meaning that none of the first 4 finishers had ever run down the hill at Santa Anita before. Well, so much for my logical theory. A pretty amazing final 2.5 furlongs for Bobby's Kitten and Joel Rosario, who went from last crossing the dirt to win the turf sprint. And we are up to our first break. When we return, the next 4 Breeders' Cup races. So we will be back with more Breeders' Cup action right after these messages.
This is the OTB Television Network, a service of Capital District Off-Track Betting.
Looking for a racing partnership with proven success? Bloodlines Racing is for you. Using genetic profiling, Bloodlines horses are bred from some of the most successful thoroughbreds in the world. Horses like Distorted Beauty and Invading Humor have won 6 of their last 7 races over the summer, and together have delivered to our partners more than $366,000 in earnings. For our latest offerings and opportunities, visit us at bloodlinesracing.com. Bloodlines Racing. Racing quality.
Missed one of our TV shows? No worries. Now you can catch all your favorite programs online. Simply log on to CapitalOTV.com and click on the YouTube link at the bottom of the homepage. And look for our new podcast coming soon. CapitalOTV.com. Log on today.
Welcome back to Down the Stretch, everyone. I'm Mark Asano. Next up on the Breeders' Cup Saturday schedule, the Juvenile. 2 scratches of number 5, the likely favorite American Pharoah, as well as number 1 Calculator, a good maiden who had finished second behind American Pharoah twice. Now, Todd Pletcher had the 2 favorites, number 9 Carpe Diem, who was 9-5, while number 12 Daredevil, interestingly making his first ever start over a dry, fast track, was 5-2. As I mentioned on last week's show when selecting number 13 Upstart, I thought this race had a reasonable chance for a pace meltdown, and I was hoping Upstart would be the one to take advantage of it. For the call of the Juvenile, here's Larry Colmus.
Will be Upstart. Upstart is coming up to the outside stall. They're all in line, and we are ready for the start. They're off in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Super Colossal started well, and so did Blue Dancer, and the Canadian Colts in front. Blue Dancer on the inside. Super Colossal, the Great War, is handy early. He's right behind them as they charge into the first turn here. And then to the outside comes Mr. Z. Private Prospect saves all the ground. One Lucky Dane is 4 wide into the turn, and Daredevil's way out there. Daredevil with a 5-wide run on that first turn. And then comes Upstart, who has a few horses beaten. They are Lucky Player, Carpe Diem, and the trailer well behind the field is Texas Red. 22-1 was the opening quarter mile. Up the backstretch they go. Blue Dancer by a head. Super Colossal alongside in second. Mr. Z is outside of them. Daredevil on the far outside. Then the Great War. Private Prospect rides the rail. He's only a length and a half off the lead in a tight pack. And then comes Upstart, who's starting to gain some ground. One Lucky Dane is next. Carpe Diem's got 7 lengths to make up after a blistering 45 3/2 mile. And Carpe Diem is starting to move. But it's still Blue Dancer in front with 3 furlongs to run. Mr. Z goes up there 3 wide. Super Colossal in between horses. Upstart is next. And right behind them comes the Great War. And Texas Red, who is far behind, is rolling on the far outside. Kent DeSormo and Texas Red with a blitz to the front. Texas Red has taken the lead. Looking for a 13-1 upset. He's pulling away. Texas Red. Oh, look at him run away from his competition. Texas Red with a dramatic win in the juvenile.
Texas Red, a non-threatening third in the front-runner stakes, and last takes full advantage of a contested, fast early pace as he relaxes in last and under a patient ride from Kent DeSormo blows past the entire field en route to a 6.5 length score in the juvenile. Favored Carpe Diem got up in the final jump to get second by a nose over Upstart, while second choice Daredevil finished last. Texas Red, a son of a Fleet Alex trained by Keith DeSormo, obviously looked very good. But we'll have to see if he is this good or if the trip just set up perfectly for him. Either way, he is a dominant winner of the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, a minute 41.91, just 4/100ths of a second faster than Take Charge Brandy ran in the juvenile fillies. Up next, the turf. And the tote board said this race belonged to the European. The favorite was number 1, Telescope. The second choice was number 7, Flintshire. They were 8-5 and 3-1 respectively. The top American hopes, at least according to the tote board, were number 12, Main Sequence, and number 9, Hardcore. For the call of the Breeders' Cup Turf, here's Larry Colmus.
Goes in and we're ready for the start. They're off in the Breeders' Cup Turf, and it's Twilight Eclipse who started well, and on the inside comes Telescope. These two with early speed, and Imagining is going to get by them now. And Imagining and Brown Panther now go up, and they're going to grab the lead as they race down the hill. It's Imagining the early leader, and then Brown Panther, Star Spangled Heat, a long shot, goes up on the outside to set the pace. Hardest Core is wide on the turn, running in fourth. Telescope is saving every inch of ground. He's getting a great trip so far. He's fifth on the inside, ahead of the other European favorite, Flincher. In behind them comes Twilight Eclipse, then the free-spirited filly Chiquita, who is fine as they cross over the main track for the first time. And then comes Main Sequence on the outside. A break of another 2 lengths back, and then comes Finnegan's Wake. Big John B is next, and last of them all is Hangover Kid. A half mile in 47 and 3/5 seconds, and racing across the track are Star Spangled Heat, Imagining, and Hardest Core, and they're all right together with 1 lap to go. And Telescope is running in 4th position, and he's safe ground every inch of the way so far. Brown Panther's alongside in 5th. Flincher is 6th outside of horses. Chiquita 7th and right on the rail, and she's racing 5.5 lengths off the lead. Then Twilight Eclipse, Main Sequence to the outside. Big John B, Finnegan's Wake, and last of them all, Hangover Kid. Now the pace is quickened. 3/4, 1:11 flat, and Hardest Core and Ari Louis Vaz have taken up the running, and now they're in the clear by 2. Star Spangled Heat is second, Imagining taken to the outside in 3rd. Ryan Moore continues to have a strong hold of Telescope. Telescope is 4 lengths off the lead as they race for the turn. Brown Panther is just to the outside of him, and then comes Chiquita. Chiquita's got 5 lengths to make up. Flincher is in the hunt too. He's 6 lengths off the lead as the field rounds the far turn. Hardest Core is the leader by 1.5 lengths. Imagining is second, and Telescope has his sights Dead set on the front runners. He's third, and now Ryan Moore is asking him to go. And they're into the stretch. Hardest core. The rail is open for Telescope. He's got a clear view when he comes through on the inside. And Flincher is on the attack too. Chiquita and Main Sequence on the far outside, and here he comes. Main Sequence forging to the front. A perfect year for Main Sequence.
Main Sequence, Graham Motion, Johnny V, despite a tricky outside post, rallies to run down ARC runner-up Flintshire and capture the Breeders' Cup turf. Since arriving in this country from Great Britain, Main Sequence has been unbeaten in 4 starts, despite having had gate issues in his 3 previous races. He is now the solid favorite to dethrone Wise Dan and capture the Eclipse Award as male turf champion. Great job by Graham Motion. Flintshire ran well in defeat, but had no visible excuse. Twilight Eclipse, who had been second, third, and second behind Main Sequence in his last 3 races, finished a fine third, while Telescope, who was over bet, finished a no-excuse 4th. Interestingly, in the betting in Europe, Flintshire was given the slight edge over Telescope. But here, Telescope was the much shorter price. But neither was good enough for Main Sequence, the winner of the 31st Breeders' Cup Turf. Next up, the sprint. 14 runners going flat out over 6 furlongs at Santa Anita. The 5-2 favorite, and he got pounded, was number 6 Rich Tapestry, who I liked very much. He was the only horse in the field to race without Lasix, and that may have made a difference. For the call of the sprint, here's Larry Colmus.
Let's see what happens here. It's going to be a quick one. They're off in the Breeders' Cup Sprint. Big Mucker with a slow start. Work all week. Came out very quickly. Fast Anna has speed too. Secret Circle is right up there, seeking the Sheriff on the inside, then Private Zone. They're followed on the far outside by Bakken. Rich Tapestry is in between horses. Windfire, the filly, down at the rail. Then it's Palace. 3 lengths back to Miko Margarita. Indianapolis off the pace today and well behind the field early. Salutos Amigos, Urban Courage, and Big Mocker is last. 21 flat. Oh, they're rip-roaring into the far turn. Fast Anna on top. Work all week. A half length behind in second. And then it's Private Zone third. Secret Circle is fourth. And down on the inside is Seeking the Sheriff. Rich Tapestry is dropping back through the field. He's now about 8th as they come to the top of the stretch. And Florent Giroux and Work All Week have taken the lead of 43 1/2 mile. And as they come to the 8th pole, it is Work All Week, and he's got the lead. Work All Week, Fast Anna. Secret Circle trying to close lead on the inside. Work All Week, Secret Circle coming. Work All Week, Secret Circle. Work All Week, and Florent Giroux have done it.
Work all week for a pair of Breeders' Cup newcomers in Roger Brueggemann and Florent Giroux. Stalks the pace from his outside post, takes over an upper stretch, and goes on to a half-length score over defending sprint winner Secret Circle to capture the 31st Breeders' Cup Sprint. Private Zone finished third. Bourbon Courage closed like a runaway train on the outside for fourth, while the favorite Rich Tapestry bled quite badly while finishing last. Work All Week has won 12 races from just 15 career starts and has never been beaten on dirt. His only losses coming on synthetic and on turf. No loss here. Work All Week, the winner of the Breeders' Cup Sprint. And finally in this segment, the mile. I may get a little queasy looking back at this replay again. I was not a big fan of the Americans in here. I thought the Europeans, just like in golf's Ryder Cup, simply looked better. The favorite at 2-1, number 5, Toronado. For the call of the Breeders' Cup Mile, here's Larry Colmus.
Right now on Toronado, and they're all in line. We're ready for the start. They're off in the Breeders' Cup Mile. And there goes, obviously, out to the front. Toronado is going to take it to him early. Oh, Toronado will take the lead and obviously will take back running in second. So these two are head-in-head early. Mustajib is next, and then comes Taurus on the outside, followed by Scion. Veda the filly is next on the inside, and now obviously has made the front, and Taurus is caught very wide. Tom's Tribute is after that. Then comes Summer front, followed by Grand Arch. Caraconte is next, and O'Donnell. Treat Storm, Kygun, and Seek again. 21-4 for the opening quarter, exactly like last year. Obviously flying up the backstretch, and Toronado now will sit back running in second. Richard Hughes has him 2.5 lengths off of obviously up the backstretch. Then Veda, Mustajib, Scion to the outside. Summer front is right in behind them. Taurus goes up on the outside of horses. Tom's Tribute. And then comes Caraconte. And O'Donnell to the outside, followed by Grand Arch. 45 seconds flat. Obviously the leader, and Toronado now at his neck. He is right to the outside of obviously around the far turn. Mustajib is 2.5 lengths off of them. Then comes Veda and Caraconte, and they're coming to the top of the stretch. And obviously turns it on. Obviously in front, Toronado drifting out to the center of the course. And then it's Mustajib. Caraconte is closing in. Obviously the catch. Caraconte with a rush on the outside goes by him. Late run from O'Donnell. Caraconte and O'Donnell. Caraconte.
Caraconte, under a brilliant ride from Stefan Pasquer, makes post 14 look like he had drawn the hedge as he saves ground throughout and goes on to a 1-length score over fellow Euros Anadin and Tradestorm to capture the Breeders' Cup Mile. Summer front and longtime leader obviously finished best of the Americans at 4th and 5th, while the favorite Toronado drifted out badly, turning for home, and wound up 8th. The winner, the first Japanese bred to capture a Breeders' Cup race, was coming out of a troubled 11th in the Prix de la Forêt, the same race which runner-up Anadin was exiting. Trained by Jonathan Peace, who had won the 97-mile with Spinning World and the 94 turf with Tikkanen, Caraconte, and I cannot stress this enough, received possibly the finest trip I've ever seen from this type of a brutal post position. And he needed it to deny Freddie Head, the trainer of Anadin, his 6th win in the Breeders' Cup Mile. But it's Caraconte at 30-1 to capture the 31st Breeders' Cup Mile. Just a couple of things quickly. I liked Anadin at 10-1. I mean, I like it when his connections have already proven they can come over here and win. He ran exceptionally well, but the winner's trip, folks, I'm telling you, may have been the greatest trip I've ever seen from an extremely difficult post. And front runners are now 1 for 31 over the years in the Breeders' Cup Mile. And we are up to our next break. When we return, a look at the Breeders' Cup Classic. So back with the Classic right after these messages.
This is the OTB Television Network, a service of Capital District Off-Track Betting.
Funding your Capital OTB bet account is as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1. Easy Money. Clearly the fastest and easiest method of depositing funds into your account. Make deposits or withdrawals in just minutes. 2. Green Dot Money Pack. Gives you instant access to your funds. Green Dot Money Packs are available at thousands of retailers nationwide. And 3. MasterCard Visa. Simply click on the link from the funding page, enter your account information, and fund your account. CapitalOTBBet.com. Log on today.
Hey race fans, head down to the all-new Clubhouse Racebook. With live horse racing on more than 250 flat-screen TVs, state-of-the-art wagering terminals, and amazing Vegas-style atmosphere. The Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue, Albany.
Welcome back to Down the Stretch, everyone. I'm Mark Asano. Well, the final Breeders' Cup race at about 8:45 last Saturday night, the 31st Breeders' Cup Classic, supposed to be a definitive end to the racing season, where champion 3-year-old and horse of the year likely on the line in a race which appeared to be dominated by the 3-year-olds. The 5-2 favorite, number 6, Shared Belief. The co-second choices at 4-1, number 11, Tonalist, and number 13, California Chrome. And the fourth choice at 6-1, number 7, Bayern. The top 4 choices, all 3-year-olds. For the call of the 31st Classic, here's Larry Colmus.
We are ready for the start. They're off. In the Breeders Cup Classic, and Bayern broke to the inside. May have impeded Shared Belief there. Bayern is going to go out to the early lead. Moreno is stuck in behind horses. Toast of New York is there on the outside, and California Chrome gets into his comfort zone outside of horses. Moreno, Cigar Street on the inside. Oh, Shared Belief in traffic trouble there. Just got steadied by Mike Smith. Majestic Harbor is on the outside. The opening quarter mile goes at 23 seconds flat. Then Footbridge, Candy Boy, followed by Prayer for Relief, Imperative on the inside. V.E. Day is after that, and then comes Zevo, and the Belmont Stakes winner, Tonalist, is last. It is Bayern who leads the way. He shifted in at the start of the race, but he's in the clear as they move to the backstretch by a length and a half. Europe's Toast of New York is up and on the pace, running in second. California Chrome in a perfect spot for him outside of Cigar Street. Moreno unexpectedly fifth at this stage. Shared Belief is right alongside of him, and they went 46-2 for a half mile. And then comes Majestic Harbor. Footbridge on the inside, followed by Candy Boy, Imperative, Prayer for Relief. Totalist is third last at this stage of the race. V.E. Day is next, and then comes Zevo. And now the field moves for the far turn, and Bayern has run 3/4 in 1:10-1, and he carries his speed into the turn by a length. Toast of New York is right in striking range. Victor Espinoza now asking California Chrome to go. He's 2 lengths off the lead, and he's starting to close in. And then it's Cigar Street. Shared Belief has his work cut out for him. He's fifth as they come to the top of the stretch. Bayern turning for home in front. Toast of New York on the outside. California Chrome is third. Shared Belief laboring back there in fifth. 1 furlong to run. Bayern, Toast of New York, California Chrome on the outside. The 3 of them come to the wire. Bayern, Toast of New York, California Chrome. Here's the finish. Bayern holds on.
Bayern, after ducking in sharply at the break, fights off pressure from Toast of New York and California Chrome to gamely win the Breeders' Cup Classic by a nose. Favored Shared Belief, who was bothered badly shortly after the start, finished fourth, and we'll discuss the very rough start and the steward's inquiry in a moment. Bayern, a very talented colt, but one who was questionable at 10 furlongs, got into a nice rhythm, setting fractions of 46.44, 110.22, 134.16, meaning he ran his first 4 quarter miles all under 24 seconds. Of course, he never had to deal with the expected early pressure from the one-dimensional Moreno, who got slammed at the break. But Bayern showed gameness in turning back. Bids from Toast of New York, making his first ever start on dirt. How good did he run? And from California Chrome, the latter who had no visible excuse while finishing third, but it was nice to see him return to form. He may not have gotten enough out of his Pennsylvania Derby, but he will have a 4-year-old campaign next year. But the 2014 Breeders' Cup Classic, completely dominated by 3-year-olds who finished in the first 6 spots, with Bayern the winner of the 31st Breeders' Cup Classic. Now, let's go back and take a look at the start of the Classic head on, and the major players being Bayern, number 7, Toast of New York, number 9, while inside of them are Shared Belief, number 6, and Moreno, number 4. And at the break, Bayern veers in quite sharply, interfering with Shared Belief and several others, including Moreno, who would have likely applied early pressure to Bayern. And it didn't appear to me that Martin Garcia, riding Bayern, made much of an attempt to straighten out his colt. Also, Jamie Spencer on Toast of New York angled in very sharply out of the gate, causing added interference to shared belief and possibly others. Now, unlike here in New York, where the foul is a foul is a foul rule was in existence for a long period of time before being changed, stewards in California, at least since 1971, have had the discretion to allow horses who fouled others to stay up if, as the stewards saw it, the interference did not alter the order of finish. Now, when an incident occurs late in a race, it's usually pretty easy to definitively decide whether it affected the order of finish. But in this case, the incident occurred while there was still 1.25 miles to run. It likely impacted the pace scenario, something which I don't know if the stewards even considered. Said steward Scott Cheney, and I'm quoting, "In our determination, it didn't happen at a point of the race where it changed where they were reasonably expected to finish." End quote. Wow. How in the world, with 1.25 miles to run and the likely pace scenario altered because of the early foul, could the stewards make that comment? And it was unanimous among the three of them. Now, should racing go back to the foul is a foul is a foul rule? I don't think there's enough support for that. While I believe the stewards should have some discretion in their rulings, I do believe the wording of the rules should be changed to something like, if there is a foul, unless the stewards feel beyond a reasonable doubt or with near certainty that the order of finish was not impacted, a fouling horse should be disqualified. I mean, Bayern fouled several horses, and Toast of New York fouled shared belief at the very least. Now, did the stewards consider the possibility and the impact of a double disqualification? And would them taking two horses down have a greater impact than just simply leaving the initial order intact? Listen, I personally feel it was a more difficult call for the stewards to make than a lot of people think. But in the end, and it's just my opinion, think they made the wrong call. Just too much speculation on the part of the stewards for my well-being. Now, the incident caused, obviously, a great deal of controversy. It left an empty feeling. I don't know what kind of an impact it's going to have on future 1.25 mile races and how these guys ride coming out of the starting gate. And I don't know what kind of an impact it's going to have on the Eclipse Awards. Now, I have learned that the stewards and the California Horse Racing Board will be meeting in a private session on November 18th to discuss the possibility of changing the wording of the rule. And on next Saturday's show, steward Scott Cheney, one of the three in the booth who made the call on the controversial Breeders' Cup Classic, will join us on the program next Saturday, so don't miss that. And we are up to our final break. When we return, Mr. Chad Brown. So we'll welcome in Chad Brown after the break. Back with more right after these messages.
This is the OTB Television Network, a service of Capital District Off-Track Betting.
Looking for a racing partnership with proven success? Bloodlines Racing is for you. Using genetic profiling, Bloodlines horses are bred from some of the most successful thoroughbreds in the world. Horses like Distorted Beauty and Invading Humor have won 6 of their last 7 races over the summer and together have delivered to our partners more than $366,000 in earnings. For our latest offerings and opportunities, visit us at bloodlinesracing.com. Bloodlines Racing. Racing quality.
I got it. Watch me. I got it. Hey! I got something that makes me want to shout. I got something that tells me what it's all about. I got a move that tells me what all about.
Each morning on the OTB TV network, you get the very best in horse racing programming. Weekdays begin with the Handicappers Report, where professional handicappers share their selections and analysis of the day's racing. Followed by Racing Across America, a daily conversation with racing personalities from around the country. Saturdays include Down the Stretch, where Mark Casano speaks with the biggest names in racing. And Sunday mornings, it's Loose on the Lead, where Steve Bick and I offer news and a unique lineup of weekly guests. All here on the OTB TV network.
Welcome back to Down the Stretch, everyone. I'm Mark Casano. Our special guest this morning was the human star of Breeders Cup 31, having won 3 of the 6 races he was represented in. We are very pleased to welcome back to Down the Stretch Mr. Chad Brown. Chad, congratulations and welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me, Mark.
Well, tell us about your Breeders' Cup. It had to be very special.
It really was just an unbelievable weekend. We'll never forget. And so happy for everyone involved, my staff, my clients, my family. So it was a great time.
Chad, we're going to begin by looking back at Friday's Juvenile Fillies turf. Lady Eli is number 4 in here. She benefited from a great ride under Erad Ortiz Jr. and turned in a powerful victory. Talk to us about Lady Eli.
What a remarkable talent she is. And like you said, Erad rode her so well. She even given us indication in the morning she was sitting on a huge effort. And just so proud of her to go out there and for a young horse to travel across country for the first time and handle everything as well as she did. And put in the performance she did was just outstanding. We couldn't be happier.
Chad, she had shown something special when she broke her maiden in her debut at Saratoga, overcoming trouble. And she showed us when she won the stakes prior to this a really explosive turn of foot. You don't find that in a lot of 2-year-olds.
You don't find that in a lot of turf horses, period.
Yeah.
I mean, really, when you think about it. But, yeah, you're right. For a 2-year-old to show that is remarkable. And as we watched her train this fall and develop even further, I mean, she's doing things that some of my older stake mares really can't do in the morning.
Wow.
So we're just so lucky to have her in the barn. I'm so proud of her.
You know, coming out of that Miss Grillo where they crawled the opening half mile and she was perfectly placed, here the fractions are much, much faster. And again, she's perfectly placed. Obviously, she can adapt to almost anything.
She can, and I had the opportunity to get on her a couple mornings and work her. So not only in the afternoons he got to know her, but in the mornings. And we had a plan, and I told him, this cutting back to a mile and that's it is. I mean, they're going to be rolling around long early. Don't be afraid to use some of her turn of foot early and get your spot because, we've participated in these races a lot, and Irad hadn't up to this point, and I said, you're going to need some position early, to stay out of trouble. And I thought he let her run away out of the gate perfect and really got a cozy spot in the first turn.
How did she come out of the Juvenile Fillies? And talk to us about early plans for 2015 for her.
She came out of the race in great shape so far. She's down at my Palmettos winter base now in South Florida. And not planning on running her anymore this year, that's for sure. And we'll just have to see in the spring where we want to start her back. Obviously, the Belmont Oaks now, here in July, right in New York, Grade 1. It is at 1.25 miles, but, it's a huge race. And I'm not sure how far she'll run. I don't see any reason why she won't run on up to 1.25 miles. She's so explosive at 1.16 miles. It doesn't mean she can't stretch out. She, like you alluded to, she can rate off slow fractions, fast fractions.
Mm-hmm.
It's just remarkable. So, Mark, I'd say somewhere in March or April I'd have her first start for her, hopefully.
you know, we know that running against 2-year-olds is one thing. When you move on to 3, you know, other fillies are going to mature and catch up. But Chad, this one really can be quite special, can't she?
Yes, she can. We've had the privilege to have some really good ones, some juvenile turf horses, both colt-in fillies, and not to take anything away from them, there's been some great ones, but we've never had one this talented. She's sky's the limit for her if she stays healthy.
That's wonderful. Now Saturday, the turf sprint, and my old pal Bobby's Kitten, whose stubbornness to relax early in some of his races has cost him. Well, he comes from last, crossing the dirt to win the Breeders' Cup turf sprint. Chad, talk about this effort.
It's just an unbelievable race, and so special because we named the horse after Bobby, as everyone knows. And so proud of this horse as well, to switch off with Joelle. And of course, when you're tracking a pace that fast, it's easy to switch off and lose the bridle, which was what we wanted him to do. But even as such, when he found his way to the back and he had to maneuver around traffic before the crossing of the dirt came, he was very agreeable with Joelle, and he really did everything the jockey wanted him to do. And proud of him, huge effort, and it's still unbelievable that he got up. I mean, even at the 16th pole, it looked like he wouldn't even get a check.
What did Joelle say to you after the race?
he just said, wow. I mean, I didn't want to be that far back, boss, but when we crossed the dirt and I pitched him in the clear, I thought maybe there was an outside chance I can get there, but he just said to me that he's so surprised how fast that horse came home. We were really both in shock when we came back that he got there.
Chad, why did you decide for the turf sprint for Bobby's Kitten? He had never run down the hill at Santa Anita, and in the past 4 runnings of the turf sprint at Santa Anita, it was critical that you had experience down the hill. So why'd you choose the turf sprint rather than the mile?
We just felt, like you alluded to, about the stubbornness of the horse and trying to restrain him early in his races, in 2-turn races. And let's let him get run off his feet early, where he can't possibly make the lead in this race. And then that early part of his races where he fights with the rider is where he loses a lot of his races. So let's eliminate that factor and then see what he can do from running off the pace. And maybe running against older horses in the turf sprint as well will be easier than running against older horses in the mile. The Breeders' Cup mile for this horse, I think, is possible as an older horse. I think now, hopefully, we'll see him switch off a bit. Joelle's ridden him twice and gotten to know him. And sometimes as horses get older, they lose a little of that stubbornness and lose a little of their gait speed early, which might be a good thing for this horse. So I wouldn't rule out this horse being a miler next year, and seeing if we could hit some of those Grade 1 mile races across the country.
Wonderful. Now, in the filly and mare turf, Day at the Spa and Stephanie's Kitten, run 1-2. First start beyond 9 furlongs for Day at the Spa, and she wired them. Let's talk about her first.
She had been training so well and was coming off what I thought was the best race of her life in the First Lady at Keeneland. Now, it was her second Grade 1, and she had won the Queen Elizabeth at 1 1/8 as a 3-year-old at Keeneland. But for me, I never saw Day at the Spa run any better than I did in the First Lady that day. She rated in second off a horse and really just was a winner in every poll and galloped out very well. And I started to think at that point, we're planning on selling her a couple of days after the Breeders' Cup anyway. There's not a race that really fits her. Everything crossed my mind all year with this filly in terms of Breeders' Cup, from the 6.5 down the hill to the mile versus the boys to the 1 1/4 filly mare. And until that First Lady, it wasn't clear to me what the right decision would be. But I knew then that this filly would switch off and be able to at least take him as far as she could. I didn't know she'd win, but I was comfortable that was the right race for her.
Well, given the pace scenario and the tricky post, and the wide trip, Stephanie's kitten ran very well to be second.
She certainly did. I'm very proud of her. She ran a huge race. She might have run the best race in the race, and that was another factor. Having both horses is, if they had the spot had gotten worked up and maybe set fractions a little too fast and couldn't get the distance, we felt like, well, at least we had it set up for Stephanie's kitten to run, and she had been training terrific. So we felt like we had it covered both ways. And it's great they ran 1-2. It's really unfortunate there had to be a loser when both mares ran so well. But I'm proud of both of them, and both of them, I think, ran their race.
Well, it's a heck of a piece of training to get Day at the Spa to relax that way and win the filly and mare turf, her first time ever beyond 9 furlongs. And back in 2005, your former boss, the late Bobby Frankel, won the filly and mare turf with Intercontinental in her first race, going 1.25 miles. Did you think about that?
It played a big part in us putting her there. Like I said, after this filly ran the First Lady, and I was thinking about Intercontinental, and if I had a horse agreeable enough to maybe relax early and try him longer than I've ever been, when the pace is in your favor, I'd always take that over trying to ask them to do something they haven't done, and like run against males, for instance, in the mile, in a pace situation that wouldn't be their favor. So having worked around Bobby and that filly specifically really helped in our decision, and if I hadn't been there at that time, I might have not have tried it.
No. Bobby would be very proud of you. Now, we know Day at the Spa was sold for $2.1 million. As I understand it, Stephanie's kitten didn't reach the price set for her. So tell us, what's the status for both of them for 2015? Any chance that you'll be training one or both of them next year?
Good question. Stephanie's kitten, it appears at this time, is going to go back into training, and she's supposed to come down to South Florida to me in about a week or so. We'll give her a little bit of a break and see how she comes out of the race. And when we start her up, if it looks like she has it in her for another campaign, it looks like that's what we'll do. And if we think differently by the middle of February, Mr. Ramsey could always breed her. But right now, she's going to come back into my barn. As far as Day at the Spa goes, Stone Street bought her, and it's out of our hands now, and we certainly would like to have her back, but we understand, too, that, if she's going to be bred and go out on top, that's a terrific story as well. So I can't speak for them, but we'll just have to see what they want to do. But they bought a terrific race mare there, and probably the most consistent horse I've ever trained.
Chad, quickly before we let you go, your thoughts on Danza Cavallo, who you run for the first time later this afternoon in the Long Island.
Danza Cavallo, really nice prospect that was sent over to us in about August. And 3-year-old filly, looks like she stays 1.5 miles. I really wasn't looking to run her off a layoff 1.5 miles, but with limited options around and she's ready to run, it's against older mares. I thought, let's just try it and get a race into her and see. She's certainly training well enough to win the race, and soft ground shouldn't bother her at all, is what we're going to have at Aqueduct today. So I'm real excited to get her started with us, and I think that she deserves a shot in this race based on her workouts.
Well, Chad, first of all congratulations on a great Breeders' Cup. To win 3 of the 6 races you were in is absolutely outstanding. So all congratulations to you and your staff, and as always, thank you so much for having joined us this morning on Down the Stretch.
Well, thanks for having me, Mark. Take care.
Take care. Chad Brown, ladies and gentlemen. And let's wrap things up. Time to thank all the folks who helped us get this week's post-Breeders' Cup show on the air here in the studios at the Clubhouse Racebook in Albany. Our associate producer, Julie Hoxie, Dan Hayes, Mick Richards created the Breeders' Cup logo shot. Back in the control room in Schenectady, as always, Pat Peretta with a terrific job directing and working on pre-production. Pete Persico on audio. Thanks to this morning's guest, Chad Brown, and thanks to our sponsor, Bloodlines Racing, racing quality horses like full sisters, invading humor, and Distorted Beauty. For information on their latest offering, a half-sister to both of those outstanding fillies, visit them on the web at bloodlinesracing.com. Tuesday is Veterans Day, and to all of you veterans out there, thank you and enjoy your Veterans Day. And another reminder, on next Saturday's edition of Down the Stretch, Scott Cheney, the steward from California, one of the three involved in the Breeders' Cup Classic controversial decision. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for having joined us this morning on Down the Stretch. Have a wonderful weekend and a terrific upcoming week. And from all of us here at Down the Stretch, we'll see you next week.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off Track Betting.